Blessed gear is one of the most powerful upgrades a player can obtain. It can take a character from simply strong to completely overpowered. Once a piece of gear is blessed, it becomes permanently bound to that character, upgrades to red quality, and can be customized to fit your specific playstyle. But with that power comes complexity. The blessing system works alongside reforging and deep forging, creating a gear progression system that can seem overwhelming at first. The best way to think about it is like building with Lego bricks. Each system is a separate piece, and when combined correctly, they allow you to transform several mediocre items into a single piece of exceptional gear. To bless a weapon or piece of armor, you'll need to gather a few key materials. First, obtain an ancient secret scroll chest. These can be purchased from the guild shop for 650,000 copper coins or from the gold token shop for 1,000 gold tokens. Second, you'll need modification insight choice boxes. These are available in the guild shop for 10,000 copper coins each. The number you'll need depends on the type of gear you're blessing. Weapons require 56. Armor requires 42. Tools require 29. Gathering gear requires 19. Third, you'll need martial art scrolls. These can also be purchased from the guild shop, where 10,000 copper coins will get you 200 scrolls. One thing worth mentioning is the tally order. If you have it unlocked, you'll receive several ancient secret scrolls and modification insight boxes, which can significantly reduce the amount of materials you need to purchase. Because of that, I highly recommend picking it up if you're planning to invest in blessed gear. First, open your ancient secret scroll chest and select the blessing scroll you want to use. Then, open the corresponding modification insight boxes found in your exquisite box inventory. Once you have both items, simply consume them to unlock the blessing. Next, navigate to the Martial Scroll tab at the top of the screen, then select the Ancient Secret Scroll tab. Locate the blessing you just consumed and click on its icon. Before moving forward, it's a good idea to verify that your gear has been fully upgraded. You can do this by clicking the View Modification button in the bottom right corner. For armor, the modification level should display 16 out of 16, confirming that the gear is fully upgraded and ready for rolling. Now it's time to roll the blessing stats that will be applied to your gear. To do this, click the box next to Modification Type. You'll notice there are two types of modifications, Common and Fine. The main difference between them is both the cost and the base stat values they can provide. Fine modifications are more expensive, but they offer max base attributes. For the most efficient approach, I recommend starting with common modifications. Your goal is to land at least one high roll on a stat you want. Once you get it, lock that stat and switch to fine modifications to roll for the remaining slots. This strategy can save a significant amount of resources compared to using fine modifications from the start. You can lock up to 2 stats at the same time, but be careful. The cost of rolling increases dramatically with each locked stat, making double-locked rolls extremely expensive. It's also important to remember that you don't need perfect blessing stats. At the end of each season, all blessing templates are reset and removed from your character. While you can apply your save template to as many pieces of gear as you want during the current season, you'll need to rebuild that template from scratch once the next season begins. Because of that, chasing absolute perfection is usually not worth the cost. Focus on getting strong, efficient rolls that improve your build without draining all of your resources. When it comes to weapon blessings, most weapons follow a very similar setup. PvP damage is the top priority and should be your first choice whenever possible. After that, critical damage or hit percentage are both excellent secondary options, depending on your build. For the special skill, I recommend Hunt. The movement speed bonus gives you more control over engagements, allowing you to dictate the pace of a fight. If you primarily play in groups, Unity is also a strong alternative. Armor pieces are a bit different, as each slot has its own ideal combination of attributes and skills. For helmets, prioritize PvP damage reduction along with either max HP or critical reduction. For the special skill, longevity is the best option thanks to the additional health it provides. If longevity isn't available, protective awareness is a solid backup choice. For chest armor, the ideal setup is PvP damage reduction paired with max HP or critical reduction. The special skill comes down to personal preference. I prefer protective awareness because it significantly reduces the damage from the first hit you take. However, rejuvenation can also be very effective, especially later in the season when larger health pools allow you to get more value from its healing effect. For boots, movement speed and PvP damage reduction are the attributes you should aim for. As for the special skill, Crazy Rabbit is a must-have and is widely considered the best option for this slot. Keep in mind that these setups are examples of ideal outcomes, not strict requirements. The final blessing template you end up with will depend on both your luck and the amount of resources you're willing to invest. Once you've created a blessing template you're happy with and have a piece of gear ready to upgrade, the final step is simple. Open the blessing tab and select the piece of gear you want to enhance from the bottom right corner of the screen. Once it's selected, click the blessing button to apply your template. There are several different approaches to reforging gear, and the best option depends on how many resources you're willing to invest. One common strategy is to craft and reforge a lower-tier version of the gear you want. For example, instead of crafting a meteoric great axe, you could craft a broad great axe and reforge that instead. The advantage is that lower-tier gear is significantly faster and cheaper to produce in bulk. The downside is that it comes with less reinforcement. Iron gear starts with 180 reinforcement, while meteoric gear starts with 270. If you're unfamiliar with reinforcement, think of it as a secondary durability bar. When a reforged item is repaired, its normal durability is restored at the cost of some reinforcement. Once reinforcement reaches 0, the item can only be repaired using durability potions, which typically cost around 100,000 copper coins each. Whenever you repair a reforged item, you'll have two options: crude repair and fine repair. Crude repair restores durability using roughly the same materials required to craft the item, but it can consume up to 90 reinforcement in a single repair. Fine repair is much more expensive, costing about 10 times the normal crafting materials, along with some forged fine steel. However, it only consumes up to 17 reinforcement, allowing the item to last much longer. There is one important exception. If a weapon or armor piece is both reforged and blessed, fine repair is your only option. Additionally, for Gilded and Silver Cloud, instead of requiring the original crafting materials, repairs only use meteoric, black iron, and steel ingots along with forged fine steel. Ultimately, reforging lower-tier gear is a trade-off. You save time and resources up front, making it easier to produce replacement gear in bulk. However, the reduced reinforcement means those items won't last nearly as long as their higher-tier counterparts. Once you have the gear you want to reforge, take it to a quencher. You can use either a standard quencher or a batch quencher, but if you plan on hunting for strong reforges regularly, I highly recommend investing in a batch quencher. It will save you a significant amount of time in the long run. Before you begin, make sure the forge during quenching option is enabled. If this box isn't checked, the item will be quenched without receiving a reforge. If that happens, don't worry. You can still add a reforge later using a smithing table, but it's an extra step you can easily avoid. As mentioned earlier, the cost difference between reforging iron and meteoric gear adds up quickly. Iron gear costs roughly 1/3 as much as meteoric gear, and since you'll likely be rolling many items before finding a good reforge, those savings can be substantial. Once your gear is ready, open the drop-down menu in the top right corner and change the setting from Auto Select Quality to Level 10. This forces every item to be forged as green quality. The reason for doing this is simple: it dramatically reduces the pool of possible reforges. For weapons, green quality reforges can only roll either weapon damage increase, up to 15%, or durability increase. Once you move into purple quality and above, the reforge pool becomes cluttered with many undesirable effects, such as bonuses that consume stamina for additional damage or other situational modifiers that can ruin an otherwise great weapon. For armor at green quality, you'll primarily see armor percentage bonuses against slash, blunt, pierce, and siege damage, along with durability increases. Unless you're specifically hunting for a niche build, such as an ignite weapon for a fire apocalypse orb setup, I recommend focusing on weapons with at least a 12% weapon damage increase reforge. Armor is a little different. In some cases, it's worth pursuing purple, yellow, or even red quality reforges to chase powerful bonuses such as movement speed on boots or stamina recovery on armor pieces. Just keep in mind that as quality increases, so does the number of possible reforges. While the best bonuses become available, you'll also have to sift through a lot more junk rolls before finding the one you're after. The second method is significantly more expensive, but it also offers the highest potential rewards. Instead of reforging the item first, you'll start by blessing the gear and then reforge it directly from your inventory. For tools, I highly recommend this approach. Blessing automatically upgrades the item to red quality, meaning even a basic white quality tool can become a powerful red quality version. Since the pool of possible tool reforges is generally quite strong, this is one of the most reliable ways to create exceptional gathering and crafting tools. For weapons and armor, this method is primarily used when hunting for red frame items. I'll cover red frames in more detail shortly, but the short version is that they are enhanced versions of their standard gold frame counterparts. They offer stronger bonuses and are among the most desirable items in the game. The downside is that pursuing red frames can be extremely resource intensive. You're investing valuable materials into items without any guarantee of getting the result you're looking for. However, there is a safety net. With the recent Season 1 update, a luck system was introduced. You can track your current luck value in the bottom right corner of your inventory. Each time you bless an item, you gain 10 luck. Once you reach 1000 luck, the next item you reforge directly from your inventory is guaranteed to become a red frame. There is still some randomness involved. The game only guarantees a red frame item, not a specific red frame. So while the system removes the risk of missing a red frame entirely, you're still at the mercy of RNG when it comes to getting the exact item you're hoping for. Even so, the luck system provides a clear path forward for players who are willing to invest the resources. Now let's take a closer look at red frames and why they're so desirable. The biggest difference between a red frame and its gold frame counterpart is the strength of the bonus. In most cases, a red frame provides roughly double the effect. For example, a gold frame weapon with the Inferno perk may have around a 6% chance to ignite a target, while the red frame version is closer to 12%. To obtain a red frame, the item must be a level 60 piece of gear that is both red quality and reforged. While the exact odds are unknown, my testing on a private server suggests the rate is roughly 1 red frame for every 100 items reforged. During that testing, I found 4 armor variations, 1 shield variation, and 12 weapon variations, with bullseye appearing to be exclusive to bows. I can't guarantee that's every possible variation, but I haven't discovered any new ones since. Despite their power, red frames have some drawbacks. Certain weapons can roll bonuses for damage types they don't primarily use. In my listed example, the Bloodbath Axe grants a pierce damage bonus even though axes mainly deal slash damage, making the perk far less useful. The exception appears to be bows, which roll exclusively pierce damage bonuses. Armor has a similar issue. While there are several strong defensive options, none of the red frame armor pieces I've found provide a movement speed bonus, which is one of the most valuable stats in the game. Red frames are the definition of high risk, high reward. Most attempts won't give you exactly what you want, but when you land the right red frame with the right bonus, you can end up with an incredibly powerful piece of gear. Deep forging works very similarly to inventory reforging, but it uses a different resource, forged dragon scale steel. These can be purchased from the guild shop for 120,000 copper coins each or from the gold token shop for 850 gold tokens each. The perks gained through deep forging come from a pool similar to normal reforging. As a result, green quality items have a much smaller and more predictable pool of bonuses, while purple quality and higher items can roll from the full pool. Deep forge bonuses appear as pink text on your gear. Each item can be deep forged up to 3 times. The first forge costs 1 steel, the second costs 3 steel, and the third costs 6 steel. The most efficient approach is to use a sacrificial item. For example, if you're hunting for a high weapon damage reforge on a green quality weapon, you'll likely end up with plenty of unwanted rolls along the way. Instead of discarding them, apply a deep forge and see if you can land a useful bonus. I generally recommend only investing in the second or third deep forge if the previous roll was already worth keeping, as the costs increase very quickly. For armor, the goal is similar. You're looking to stack powerful bonuses whenever possible. For example, movement speed on boots becomes increasingly valuable when combined with other speed-related reforges and effects. Because forged dragon scale steel is so expensive, deep forging should be viewed as an endgame upgrade. Rather than spreading your resources across multiple sets, save it for the gear you plan to use long-term and focus on maximizing your very best equipment. Not every piece of gear is going to be perfect right away. Early in the season, simply having blessed gear is often more important than having the perfect reforge or deep forge. Because of that, you'll usually end up using whatever decent rolls you can get your hands on. Fortunately, there's a way to improve that gear over time. In the same interface where you bless gear, you'll find the Consume tab. This allows a blessed item to absorb certain perks from another item, whether that item is blessed or not. The process costs 20,000 copper coins for armor and 50,000 copper coins for weapons. This is why I compare blessed gear to building with Lego bricks. Instead of searching for one perfect item, you can combine several average items into a single exceptional piece of gear. The perks that can be transferred include reforges, deep forges, and durability limit increases. The durability limit is especially useful because it can only increase the target item's durability, it will never lower it. This is particularly valuable for high-end armor sets like Gilded and Silver Cloud. Blessed armor starts with a fixed durability limit of 100,000, but crafted Gilded and Silver Cloud pieces can exceed 250,000 durability and reach over 300,000 with the right reforges. By transferring those durability bonuses onto your blessed gear, you can dramatically extend its lifespan and get far more value out of your best equipment. Over time, this system lets you continuously upgrade your gear, turning a collection of decent items into a truly optimized endgame set. There is one important limitation to the Consume system: the items must be exactly the same type. For example, you cannot transfer perks from a gilded armor piece to a meteoric armor piece, even though both are in the same tier. Likewise, you cannot merge a Silver Cloud piece with a gilded piece because they belong to different armor classes. The final tab in the blessing interface is Reshape, and it's especially important if you chose to bless an Iron tier item below level 60. While blessed gear scales with your level, certain bonuses do not. Heat and cold resistance values, along with which polishes you can use, remain tied to the item's original tier. Because of this, reshaping your gear as you progress is a worthwhile long-term investment. To reshape an item, you must first have the recipe unlocked. Most recipes are easy to obtain, but there are a few exceptions. For example, some desert region weapons, such as the Radiant Moon Axe, require defeating a specific boss before you can craft, reshape, or repair them. The reshaping process itself is straightforward. It uses the same materials required to craft the item, and you'll need to progress through each tier one at a time. Fortunately, this is usually not a major hurdle. The most important decision comes when moving from level 50 black iron gear to level 60 gear. At that point, you'll need to decide which armor line you want to commit to, meteoric or gilded for heavy armor, or elephant or silver cloud for light armor. Silver cloud and gilded armor can achieve nearly 3 times the durability of their standard counterparts, making them excellent long-term investments. However, they also come with a slightly higher movement speed penalty. Ultimately, the right choice comes down to your playstyle. Just keep in mind that if you decide to switch armor paths later, you'll need to build and upgrade an entirely new set of gear. There are 2 ways to transfer blessed gear to another player. The first method is the official transfer system. For a fee of 50,000 copper coins, you can send a blessed item directly to another player by entering their character name. The recipient must be online and on the same server, and the item will be delivered straight to their inventory. The second method avoids the transfer fee but comes with some risk. You can equip the blessed item on an NPC and then place that NPC into a guild depot. Another guild member can then withdraw the NPC and remove the gear. The downside is that anything stored in a guild depot is vulnerable. If the depot is destroyed, everything inside is lost, including any blessed gear stored on NPCs. Because of that, I generally recommend using the guild depot method when transferring gear to trusted guildmates, as it saves a considerable amount of copper over time. However, if the player isn't in your guild or you're concerned about the gear being lost, paying the 50,000 coin transfer fee is the safer option. Before wrapping up, it's important to remember that building blessed gear can become incredibly expensive if you aren't careful. Take advantage of the market whenever possible and don't be afraid to piece together your ideal set from multiple sources. In my experience, you don't need a vault full of perfect gear to be competitive. 1 or 2 exceptional armor sets paired with a variety of grief weapons will carry you through almost any situation. Focus on getting powerful, practical upgrades rather than chasing perfection on every piece. Remember, the goal isn't to create a flawless set, it's to create a set that's strong enough to help you win fights and enjoy the game. I hope this guide has helped you better understand blessed gear, reforging, deep forging, and the different ways to build powerful equipment throughout the season. Thanks for watching, and good luck out there.